So good afternoon and welcome to viewers on Eurosport International, joining us here on British Eurosport, where we're about 20 minutes into our coverage of Tirreno Adriatico, the final stage. Now, this is a man to look out for today, Adriano Malori, former Italian time trial champion, but he's up against a decent field today.
Well, it's one of the top fields in terms of time trialing. You got both Cancellara, obviously, you got Tony Martin, and the rest, really. It's a showdown, of course, with Chris Froome, Vincenzo Nibali, who's done an awful lot of work over this winter as well in wind tunnels, etc., and testing out, sort of getting his time trial position as aerodynamic as possible. One of the big changes of going from an Italian team into sort of more international team as well. They're spending that little bit more time and effort on sort of getting your time trial position right.
Plenty of people looking to get it right here today. Hayden Ralston coming into the time that Jens Morris set early on. He was just second away from the blocks and holds the best time so far of 10 minutes and 52 seconds. Martin Velits was first out today, the Slovakian of a Mega Pharma Quickstep. This is Ralston, though, well known for being able to power on.
Quite a strong track rider as well, so you know, on the shorter disciplines like this, a good track background is obviously going to help. Jens Moore is another very, very strong track rider, so it's something they sort of specialise in, obviously, with the 4 kilometre pursuit and team pursuit.
So waiting to see if he'll be able to set the fastest time. It looks as though he will. The Kiwi about to take over the lead, often referred to as the most southerly based road cyclist on the planet, Hayden Ralston. New time for him is the new lead. 10 minutes and 45 seconds, I think it was. That puts him 7 ahead of Jens Morris, but expect this top 5 to change quite dramatically as the day goes on. Still got the likes of Cancellara behind him just to come in. Tony Martin, remember. Alex Dowsett will be out there as well. Samu Sanchez. Also look out for Jonathan Castroviejo. Previously won a very short time trial. Now then, coming towards the last kilometre here, Fabian Cancellara, how's he looking?
Well, it's looking like he's going quite strongly, but you know, it's 9.5 minutes it's been now, just going on the kilometre banner, so unless he's holding around about 60k an hour for the last kilometre, he's going to struggle to actually beat his teammate Hayden Ralston.
Well, he has won this final time trial in the last 2 editions of Tirreno Adriatico. 4-time world time trial champion. He was in a breakaway though for 160 k's yesterday.
Yeah, and he's
thinking about the weekend.
Yeah, obviously, and you know, Milan-San Remo coming up, but also he said he's putting less focus on his time trialing now than he has been. He's done pretty much everything that you can do on a time trial bike, so you know, he'll keep on trying hard, but it's not as much in terms of his training and etc. that goes into time trialing. He's more road racing, classics, and that's what he wants to do.
Well, if he's achieved so much in one discipline, let's say, there's not much left. Well, there is nothing left for him to achieve, really. No, it's interesting that it's only natural that he may want to switch focus.
Still, you know, it's a very fast time indeed. Coming across 10:37.
So he takes over the lead, as many would expect him to at this stage, certainly. 8 seconds faster than his teammate Hayden Ralston. So a very fast last kilometre.
Yeah, it was a very fast last kilometre, definitely.
Of course, he'll be being told about all the differences in his ear as he rides. Manuel Quinziato rounding up the top 5. Rohan Dennis still in there. We're back with what looks to be Malori at the moment.
Interesting riding style as well compared to Cancellara. You know, he's turning a much bigger gear and just grinding out the power rather than like Cancellara just rides on cadence and keeping the work rate up higher. On a shorter prologue, I would say that the Cancellara style is more efficient. It's easier to sort of hit the sweet spot with your riding rather than going out on a big gear like this. Either, you know, if your legs work, then great. This kind of riding style is very fast and quite economical as well. But unless you get it 100% from the start and you find your rhythm very quickly, you tend to struggle with it.
Well, we're here, of course, looking to see who will take the stage win. Adriano Malori looking on the way back now into the final. It's, as I said, for early viewers, it's a bit of a dead seaside town at this time of the year. Not too much going on in San Benedetto del Tronto until April or May. 7 minutes 18 seconds for him at the moment on the road. Remember, we're here for the stage win, but we're also here to look at the general classification duel. We're waiting for the standings to come up to have a chat about that, but of course, whilst we're waiting for the bigger boys to come out as far as this stage is concerned, interesting to note that the difference at the top is 34 seconds between the leader of the race, Vincenzo Nibali, who last year won it on this time trial, and of course the man in second place at the moment, Chris Froome. Realistically, how many seconds can Froome take back today?
Realistically, both of them having a reasonably clear run, a handful. I don't think we're looking at much more than that, unfortunately, for Chris Froome. You know, it's a 9-kilometre time trial. It is still reasonably technical, although you've got some good power straights on it, but because it's so short, it will be difficult to bring, you know, half a minute is virtually impossible on such a quality rider as Nibali.
Lessons to be learned about attempting to control the race perhaps yesterday, but it was such an unpredictable stage, such an interesting stage. I think cycling fans, neutral or otherwise, wouldn't want to swap it for anything.
No, I thought yesterday was, you know, it was a very, very good finish in terms of racing. You know, there's quite a few of the guys out there obviously didn't like the amount of really, really steep climbs that was thrown into it, and you know, I can agree with them. It might be a couple too many. You probably would have had a very similar results if there was a few less as such. But nevertheless, it made for a spectacular stage to watch. And obviously, Nibali took the race to Chris Froome. He attacked on the climb itself. Obviously, we're in a position where Froome should be able to follow him. Didn't do that, and with Nibali's descending skills and willingness to take the risks on the descent, he put in quite a bit of time into Chris Froome, obviously with the helps of Sagan and Rodriguez.
Well, Rodriguez versus Contador is another interesting sub-block today, and certainly more realistic in terms of a change in general classification. Rodriguez at the moment is third, Contador fourth, but a handful of seconds separate them, with Alberto Contador obviously being the stronger in the time trial discipline. At the moment, we're looking at one of the top stars of the time trial discipline, Adriano Malori, into the last kilometre, looking to beat the time of Fabian Cancellara. Due to go to another commercial break in just a moment's time, but we'll see Malori across the line first. Attempt to see if he can put himself in the lead as far as today's concerned. Remember, he is a former national champion in this discipline.
He's doing a good time here.
So Malori giving it all and looking very, very good. He's going to be our new leader, I think, on Tirreno Adriatico stage 7. He's even taken the bike lane route as well. Malori across the line, 6 seconds faster than Fabian Cancellara. 52.488 kilometers per hour his average, and a very, very good ride from the Italian to take away Cancellara's dominance of this final time trial stage. So he leads by 6, Cancellara in second, Ralston third, and it's looking a very, very interesting afternoon already.
It certainly does.
Christian Kuren will be next onto the course for Slovakia and Cannondale. We'll go for a quick commercial break. Plenty more still to come. The GC battle finalised on Tirreno Adriatico.
The star names of women's football are in Portugal for the highly prestigious Algarve Cup. The favourites include Germany, the cup holders. The Swedes are always dangerous. The awesome Americans have the history. And Japan are the reigning world champions. But 8 nations are in it to win it. And there's all to play for. The Algarve Cup, tomorrow at 1300 and 17:45, live on Eurosport.
So, time to get your breath here.
Oh, he's going to take it out the line. No! Unbelievable.
She is unstoppable.
What a great shot that was.
It's Morgan! USA finally break through. What a magnificent goal from the substitute.
The very best in sport and all the emotions. That's March on Eurosport.
Welcome back, and what a time to come back. Alex Dowsett, the British time trial champion for Movistar at the moment, pedalling towards the end of this 9.2-kilometre time trial. The time to beat is 10 minutes and 31 seconds, set just a few moments ago by the former Italian champion Adriano Malori for Lampre. Dowsett for Movistar had an excellent start to the week, of course, in the team time trial, powering them on to a great beginning to the week with a painful expression as he looks to come to the end of the line. He's not going to do it as far as the stage win's concerned today. It certainly might well be a decent effort. Cancellara in second as it stands, 10 minutes 32nd. And Dowsett is probably just going to miss out on the podium for the day as well, once with some big names to come. But it's a new experience for Alex Dowsett, of course, riding in a new team, having to learn a new language. I've seen his trials and tribulations as far as that's concerned on Twitter. He's been doing his best, but being corrected by all his teammates who don't stop taking the mickey out of him. Yeah. This is where he stands at the moment, in fourth place, 17 seconds behind Adriano Malori. But he's made a brave move as Alex Dowsett, leaving the British connection, of course, and I think one that will probably help him to improve and grow as a rider.
Yeah, definitely. It is a big move that he's made, and you know, coming into, especially into time trialing, which is Alex's thing. But you know, we're looking at he's changing equipment to a certain extent. Yes, the frames are still the same as he rode last year, but you know, the group sets are different, the chain rings are different. I know that he's not been able to ride his asymmetric chain rings that he wants to because Campagnolo are not happy about it, and so on and so on. And that is a major thing for a rider like Alex, who's been on with this particular part of the equipment, the very ovalized chain rings that he's been using for especially for his time trialing. You know, so just getting used to different things it can take a bit of time, but I think that was a solid effort after a week-long riding.
Coming back to the line, BMC looking to put their latest rider in. Of course, Cadel Evans hasn't been good this week. This is Thor Hushoff, though, who is going to come in around 16th place. Thor, who was 9th yesterday and had a great day. Certainly a pleasant surprise for all of us who love to see him being nice and strong and love to see good racing.
Yeah, I think he rode a very good race yesterday. You know, being up there after such a hard stage, that is good signs to come for the next you know, couple of classic races coming up.
Anthony Roux of Française des Jeux, one of the outsiders, you'd have said, to have a good go at the win today. It's not going to happen for him. Approaching the line now for the French team. The last 150 metres or so. Jens Morris was the early leader, of course. Johan Dennis has been up there, Quinziato as well. And Anthony Roux is going to finish inside the top 10 for now. I'm sure he'll be pushed out of there before the end of the day. There he is, 10th as it stands, 49.804 kilometres per hour, and 34 seconds down on Malori's best time at the moment.
Yeah, I think that time of Malori's is going to be quite difficult to beat.
Well, just having a glance at who might be able to beat it later on, of course, we have Tony Martin coming out, Castroviejo. Chris Horner's there. Don't expect him to do too much as far as the time trial is concerned. It's about keeping his general classification place at the moment. And then the big boys, Kwiatowski, as far as the young jersey is concerned, he's got that sewn up, really. Contador, Rodriguez, not one of the men for the stage win today, but certainly attempting to maintain his podium place. Chris Froome and Vincenzo Nibali, a man who's been working very hard on his time trialing throughout the winter. It's BMC time again, and it's Greg van Avermaet time Another man whose objectives are focused on the spring. Belgian onto the course. And of course, the man who we expect to see over the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, especially as we get to the sort of second part of the spring classics with Amstel Gold, which is very much Greg's you know, favorite kind of terrain nowadays. He used to be more of the Paris-Roubaix and Tour of Flanders again, Wevelgem type of rider, but he's improved his climbing so much over the last 2, maybe 3 years that, you know, he's completely changed as a rider. When he came onto the scene, you know, a number of years back, he was actually more of a sprinter guy. He was challenging for stage wins in Tour of Qatar and races like that. But since then, yeah, he's lost an awful lot of weight and completely transformed himself into more of a semi-climber and certainly a man for the hillier classics.
This is Jan Barter, the Czech Republic time trial champion, a man who really made his name on the world stage as a racer at the Giro last year. Not going to do anything as far as the time trial win today is concerned. You can see time already closing quickly on that early time by Adriano Malori. Technical question to ask you in a minute. I've seen a couple of things raised by our colleagues over in Spain, actually, by Antonio Alix, about cadence and things like that. A big difference between Malori's riding style and Cancellara's as far as cadence is concerned. We'll see Barta cross the line first and see what sort of time he ends up with. Of course, the NetApp Enduro rider. Car turns off behind him, and it's going to be fairly decent for him. Caden Ralston was up there, as is Alex Dowsett. We've seen Jens Morris in the last 50 metres of the roads that are now starting to dry up again after that early little downpour. 7th for the moment for Jan Barter. The question I wanted to ask you is, Adriano Malori usually rides around 80 pedal strokes per minute for his cadence.
Yep.
Cancellara up there around 110. We've seen the difference in time here. Does it really matter too much?
It depends completely what type of rider you are and how you put the power down. Two classic examples, really, a number of years back, and maybe not the best examples really as such in terms of names, but one being Jan Ullrich and the other one being Lance Armstrong, in the way that they rode their bikes. Jan Ullrich was always turning massive gears, and whereas Armstrong was pedaling in a much higher cadence, and it was just, you know, how they were efficient on the bike. And you know, there is no right or wrong really for anyone to go out there and say, oh, I have to ride at 110 cadence because Cancellara does it. It might not suit you. You know, a similar thing to going out and riding like you know, like Malori did here, or like, let's bring in another example from a couple of years back, Sergei Goncha, who turned an enormous gear. You know, he used to ride a 56, 57 tooth front chain ring and very rarely got out of the 11 on the back. But that was how he rode. And it's just a question of finding your own rhythm, finding what works best for you. I've got to say though, for a shorter time trial, it's easier to find your rhythm quickly with a higher cadence than it is with a lower cadence.
Fran Mendoza, Spanish road champion. Time trial discipline, not really his thing. Places flash past as he approaches the last few hundred metres. Again, that Hayden Ralston 3rd place for the moment, Dowsett in 4th. Fran Mendoza, another man who really enjoys racing in Italy. Had a couple of wins at the Giro a couple of years ago. Of course, he's a man who's had his ups and downs in his career. Finally found his way back to World Tour level and enjoying every minute of it as a sort of little second-level sprinter, if you will. There's Ioannis Tamoridis, who we mentioned earlier in the week, riding for Euskaltel as part of their new globalization drive. Track rider. And Fran Mendoza at the moment going to slip inside the top 25 perhaps. And there he is, 29th as it stands ahead of Mathieu Sprink. 48.634 kilometers per hour, 50 seconds down on Malori at the moment. Oh, this is an effort ride. Not a pretty picture on the face there from the Cantel rider, Christian Curren. But he's doing okay. He's put a good effort in. 200 metres to go as he is in 3rd place at the moment. Perhaps might get him inside the top 10, I think.
Yeah, should just about get there.
Canadeo had a wonderful day yesterday with Pere Sagan. We'll talk about him a little later on. Computer can't decide whether it's 6th or 7th there for Christian Curren. 23 seconds, pardon me, down anyway. And again, those who don't like little messy sights, look away now. Just a picture, though, over the fact that despite it's only 9.2 kilometres, there can still be plenty of effort out there.
Well, that's the thing with these shorter time trials. You have to leave everything out there on the road. You can't sort of conserve any energy. It is literally hit out as hard as you can out the start gate and hold on to it. And you know, if you try and plan your ride too much, and you tend to not go fast enough. So these rides tend to be very difficult to judge. Hence why it's also a little bit of a hit and miss in terms of how your performance is. But yeah.
Well, that's a little worrying.
Yeah.
Bit of the road coming apart. I'll just put it back into place. It's a bit like a divot at golf, isn't it? But let's hope that nobody chooses to take that line anyway. Angel Vicioso Arcos. 9 minutes so far for the Katusha rider. We'll flash up back the front to the arrival line though, because it's time for Vini Fantini to make an appearance with Mauro Finetto. He's not going to worry too much, those at the top of the leaderboard today.
He's certainly one rider who could benefit from getting into the wind tunnel a little bit. His arms are way wider than the rest of his body, and if you look at any other rider that's come in before or coming in after here now, the elbows are probably a good 15 to 20 centimeters closer than what this guy's elbows are, and you know, it just says itself that he's going to push a lot more wind around.
Back in skin suit territory now for Vincent Soleil with Sergei Lagoutin, Uzbekistan rider, former national champion in this discipline, multiple times national champion on the road. I remember watching him ride away to glory at the Asian Games in China a couple of years ago as well. Lagoutin for Vincent Soleil. Vincent Soleil again, another team who will be expected because of their nationality to take place and take part in classics in a couple of weeks' time. This is Dario Cataldo, Italian flag on his back as the national champion, riding for Team Sky this year. Pro since 2007, 6 victories, one of which, of course, was that time trial championship jersey. It's a pretty snazzy one as well.
I do like that, just a strip with the colours on across the back. That is really nice.
They sort of took the Movistar and Katusha idea from a couple of years ago and actually made it a bit better, a bit more visible. The fact that the rest of the kit's black might help as well, I think.
Yeah,
stands
maybe
out. Here's Moreno Moser. Another man who'll be looking to ride in support of Pere Sagan and his aspirations in San Remo. Moser himself might be given a wild card if Sagan's not too good on the day.
Yeah, you know, Moreno Moser was one of the riders that we thought was going to be up here for the overall today, but it hasn't quite come off. But, you know, going into Milan-San Remo, there's so many things that can happen in that race, and especially, you know, it's a 300-kilometer race, which generally tends to mean that you can be perfectly fine and have absolutely incredible legs. You know, 280k into the race, 285k into the race, you're still fine. 286k and you're legless, and that is just the Milan-San Remo in a nutshell, really. You can't really sort of, if you miss eating at one point, you know, for half an hour, 20 minutes in the beginning of the race, and that's going to catch up with you when you get towards the 300k mark. And that's why we see riders that we expect being up there all of a sudden just completely blowing up and disappearing out the back.
We're waiting to see any time splits halfway through the course, which I'm afraid are a little slow coming through from the race organisers, just like they were on the opening stage a week ago. This is Moser, though. 6 victories for him, last of which coming at Strade Bianche. What do you think of his technique?
Well, he's sitting a little bit wide again with his elbows, and actually it looks like he's sitting a little bit too low as well for a on the time trial bike to get the maximum use of the levers that you have. Most of the time you tend to ride slightly longer cranks on a time trial bike, and the position is as well completely different, so a lot further forward than what you would sit on your road bike. But it's all about getting the arms, your upper arms to kind of cover the area of your legs to create less turbulence with your legs that are moving, and it just doesn't quite look like that they've got that dialed in. I would have thought, you know, with a team like Cannondale, and you know, the amount of wind tunnel time that they work with, they would have had him on a TT bike in the wind tunnel, making sure that he's at least close to perfect.
Dario Cataldo around 3 minutes or so from the finish line. You're a man who's studied all of this science quite a lot, of course, and you're having to do a bit more in your new adventure. Tell us a bit more about it now.
Well, you know, there's quite a lot going on in my life at the moment. I've just come down here from Birmingham this morning, where I've just had the team launch for my new team, MG Maxi Fuel. You know, we basically looking at going into the Tour Series this year here in the UK, and racing, you know, city circuit centre racing. But I've also gone into starting to work towards Ironmans, and just come back from Abu Dhabi, done my first Ironman. Well, it wasn't quite a full Ironman distance out there, but done my first triathlon out there, and looking towards you know, Ironman Sweden later on in the year. And hopefully qualify for Hawaii in the next, well, for 2014. That's my goal, to go out there and be competitive, at least in my age group, and then we'll see what happens. But a lot of things happening, and I'm really looking forward to new challenges.
Plenty going on then in the world of Magnus Bagstad.
Oh, definitely an awful lot. So yeah, keep up with me on Twitter, and I'll let you know all about it.
Well, that's at Magnus Bagstad. If you're interested, get your questions in as well to at Rob Hatch TV today. We're off for a quick commercial break. Back in a minute with the rest of the final stage of this year's Tirreno Adriatico. Don't miss it.
Become a member of Club 5 Stars today. Save on Delimano Italian cookware, on Dormeo mattresses and more, on the Walkmax line of shoes, and on Topshop bestsellers. Club 5 Stars. Get more, pay less.
Dikkat et oğlum.
Pass off. Pass up, pass up, pass up.
Attenție în spate, mă.
Play.
Calm.
Kijk, shoot, mă!
What?
Goal!
Follow the score of your favorite team live and find the latest results and features with Eurosport's live score.
Get Eurosport.com for your iPhone free. Every day sees full and expert coverage of sports news with dozens of articles and an easy one-stop video section that lets you live and relive the very best moments of sport. Follow all the scores, fixtures and tables live. Eurosport.com, the reference and sport apps available on the App Store.
Swing time on the European Tour. The top tournaments from the continent's finest courses. The big drives and the birdie putts. And the men who make them. Golf from the European Tour. Wednesday night in the Wednesday selection on Eurosport.
Golf, in association with the Estoril Coast in Portugal.
The Wednesday selection, brought to you by Rolex.
Dario Cataldo, Italian time trial champion, not able to top the time, I should say, of the former time trial champion, Adriano Malori, who currently leads this stage 7 of Tirreno Adriatico. You're watching live on Eurosport. Britain, Europe and around the world. Fourth at the moment for Dario Cataldo. Again, the conditions are a little variable. It's just gone a little darker again, and after the road had dried up following an early shower, there's a threat that it might become a little slippery once more. Malori 6 seconds ahead of Cancellara, with Ralston in third place as it stands. Number 117 out onto the course is Gio Visconti, former Italian road champion, double-time road champion, in fact. Man with Movistar, and Spanish team looking quite strong this year.
Yeah, they've done some good shopping this autumn and winter, and you know, got a really strong team together, and you know, just sort of spreading their wings a little bit more than what they have done in the past. Maybe there's been more of a, you know, a lot of the Spanish teams have been focused on pure outright climbers, and that is it. Whereas now they're sort of getting a bit more, you know, strength together for different types of racing, and you know, it'll be interesting to see whether they how they get on in the classics and that.
Well, you see that in the outgoings as much as the incomings as well, and a change of age as well, lowering of the average age. I think the likes of David Lopez leaving, going to Sky, and also David Arroyo as well.
Yeah.
A man who's been a workhorse for a long time. He had that great Giro d'Italia challenge a few years ago, really lit it up when it wasn't expected, got into the pink jersey, gave his all, and was always quite humble, didn't expect to win, worked hard, enjoyed himself, and he's moved on to the Pro Continental level as well.
Yeah.
Back with Moreno Moser, and who's coming in towards the end now, back on the final straight, a circuit that just takes you inside, just 100 meters or so from the seafront. Now then, this is a man we've been waiting to talk about today. It's the winner of 2 stages this week, 5 wins already this year. Couple in Oman, 1 in Camaiore at the Grand Prix, 1 where he beats Mark Cavendish and Andre Greipel early this week, the pure, thick-legged, big-muscled sprinters. And yesterday, where he hung on for dear life, rode like an absolute champion, and proved that he's probably just about the most exciting thing that there is in the world of professional cycling. It is Peter Sagan.
Yeah, I think you know, the repertoire that this man that sort of possesses in terms of how to win bike races is quite phenomenal. And you know, the way he won yesterday's stage, the way he climbed with the best guys over those really short, steep climbs, very impressive indeed. And then obviously out sprinting Cavendish and Greipel in the beginning of the week as well. So he's one of these guys. He's capable of doing just about everything. Time trialing is not his strongest point, but it's certainly not bad.
16 wins last year, 15 the year before. Always coming through this Liquigas and now Cannondale setup since 2010. Born in Žilina, 26th of the 1st, 1990. Means he's only just turned 23. Of course, remember his little brother rides as well. Saw him the other week in Roma Maxima.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Part of the Cannondale team that we mentioned doesn't really have a GC prospect for the next year or two. Damiano Caruso is expected to learn the ropes as far as that's concerned from Ivan Basso, but no shortage of points to keep their World Tour status. They're a safe bet to be up there in the next few years. So many potential stage winners, and with Sagan already getting 5, Moser already getting himself on the win sheet, numerous other good performances already this year. They're looking pretty good. Now, I've had a question already on Twitter talking about the Giro d'Italia, which is the first Grand Tour of the year. Of course, we've got classics to look forward to before then. Moreno Moser will be involved in plenty of those as he goes into the last kilometre, not threatening Adriano Malori. Who are the favourites for the Giro? I think certainly since yesterday we've had a clear indication that Vincenzo Nibali probably the man to have a look at and try to beat.
Well, I think Nibali's going to be there or thereabouts, no doubt about it. You know, Wiggins is definitely, if he set his sights on riding the Giro and winning that one, he's going to be absolutely dangerous to compete with. There are so many other guys as well of the Italian riders that really just specialise and focus everything. The whole season is about the Giro, and you know, it's actually sometimes a tighter fought competition than Tour de France is.
Ryder Hagedal, will he go back and ride and defend as well? The likes of Samu Sanchez, who's going back to Italy. For the minute, Moreno Moser is going to cross the line here in Tirreno Adriatico. Of course, the precursor to the Giro d'Italia. Tyler Farrar's time at 13th at the moment, not going to be beaten. Anthony Roux, I think that's an 18th for Moreno Moser as it stands. But looking forward towards the Giro, Sagan, was he going to ride this year as far as Grand Tour is concerned? Plenty of stages to be won, perhaps a green jersey assault somewhere else?
Why not? You know, looking at the Giro d'Italia, maybe he'll go there and at least do the first part of it to really get his legs going for you know, coming towards the Tour de France. Our world champion Tony Martin is on the start line.
Omega Pharma Quickstep, the man who drove them on to team time trial glory earlier this week, putting Mark Cavendish into that blue jersey. Cav retired, by the way, on the stage yesterday. A lot of riders saying that, of course, apart from the obvious bits of moaning we have from those who weren't happy with their own results and perhaps wanted to blame it on the course, I think it's fairly normal that we get several retirees the day before this final time trial, and I think the weather will have affected that a lot. A lot of people not wanting to catch colds at this time of year.
Yeah, definitely. If you're not in the racing, you know, sitting out there in the cold and the wet is not good for you, especially looking at with Milan-San Remo coming up on the weekend, and then we've got the classics very, very shortly as well. You know, you want to make sure that you recover well for Saturday's Milan-San Remo. And then it's all about as well, you know, making sure that you stay healthy for the classics. And sitting out there yesterday might not have been the best idea. It's been a hard week. You've got some good miles in your legs. Maybe it's worth just calling it a day a little bit early and actually recovering properly and reaping the benefits from this hard week of racing.
So Pere Sagan out there, still on his way out. See on the left-hand side as we look at it. There's Tony Martin. Easy to pick him out today. Covered in the rainbow. Of course, one that he will like to win as well. But it's a difficult time to beat at the moment. 10.5 minutes set by Adriano Malori. What do we make of Pere Sagan's time trial position?
No, it's pretty decent, but if you look at a guy like this, and there's a clear visible difference in speed as well, but how sort of tight Tony Martin is on his time trial bike. His elbow is incredibly tight, almost borderline too much, but this man has obviously spent an awful lot of time in the wind tunnel to perfect his position. And you know, looking at him, looking at Fabian Cancellara, Chris Froome, Bradley Wiggins, you can see the difference in, you know, the amount of time they spend riding their time trial bikes, but also the amount of effort it goes into getting perfecting the position for it. And you know, when you get it right, there's a visible difference in speed.
Well, another man who's been showing good form on time trial this week, I want to mention our viewers down under, of course, in Australia on Eurosport World. They've been asking about Richie Porte. We saw him win Paris-Nice.
Yeah.
We've seen him do well in the Giro earlier on, of course, in his career as a neopro. I remember interviewing him when he took the pink jersey that bizarre day down in L'Aquila after the wonderful stage that separated the peloton by about 10 to 15 minutes, I think it was. He's been asked, or people are asking, I should say, on Twitter, whether he should be given the freedom in the near future to go for something like the Giro.
Well, why not? You know, obviously they've got an awful lot of very good GC riders in Team Sky, and you know, this year I think there's still space for someone like Richie Porte, and maybe why not let Richie go for the Vuelta? You know, we got Bradley looking at the Giro this year, Chris Froome going for the Tour de France. Why not send Richie Porte to prepare himself to get ready for the Vuelta and make an assault on that one with some nice backup from maybe like you know, Chris Froome and Bradley Wiggins to really help him along to try and win his first Grand Tour, because I think he's probably capable of doing it.
It's nice payback as well for all the work that's been put in for him, and traditionally that's how cycling works, remember. You know, you scratch my bike, I'll scratch yours. Less so in recent years, of course, when there've been more, let's say, professionalism added to it. There's been a clear focus, one man at the top of the tree. Let's share out the prize money a bit more. That's how it's worked a little more recently. But yeah, it would be nice to see a little bit of faith and work repaid back in the opposite direction, let's say. Tony Martin having to contend with a couple of speed bumps that also cobbled, something that might have put paid to the final sprint stage here over the last few years. Could have been a bit dangerous.
I don't think it's too bad, you know, they're not really cobblestones, them. It's nicely paved, as I would like to call it. But yes, the circuit itself is getting a little bit tighter. When I rode it last time, we didn't have the bike path on the side here. It was a little bit wider road, but it still, nevertheless, it was still a very tight circuit. I remember, especially the final sort of chicane before you come out onto the main road towards the finish. There was always a few very sketchy moments going through that.
Tony Martin, 4.5 minutes into his ride. So we're on the 9.2 kilometre time trial course around San Benedetto del Tronto. It's the final stage of Tirreno Adriatico. Just joining us, the riders start out in front of the Coast Guard building here along Porto d'Ascoli on the seafront, which is where Tony Martin's heading now. He'll soon, as you see these lights flashing just in front of him, have to make that big 90-degree turn, immediately followed by another around 10, 15, 20 metres after that. That is Piazza Salvo d'Acquisto. It's the intermediate time split. The route back heads to San Benedetto del Tronto at the other end of the town again for the finish in Viale Buozzi, and the final 2.5 kilometres on a completely straight road. Tony Martin, 5.5 minutes into his ride. You can see the red barriers just up ahead. That indicates that it's the first swing right. Interesting to see how he takes this. Again, speed comes right off, obviously.
Still cornering quite quickly with the, you know, with it still being wet. This corner here, though, is by far the most tricky one, and probably the slowest one on the whole circuit.
Well, Tony Martin a little unlucky. Again, the road's coming a little bit more wet towards that side of town than they were 10 to 15 minutes ago. There's bits and bobs of nasty showers hanging around. Started off as quite a nice sunny day. Here's Peter Sagan. Not going to trouble the scorers, to use a cricket expression, at all today. He, of course, not expected to be in too much of contention. Already done more than people might conceivably ask of him at this stage of the year. Remember, he came into this race with a cold as well, said he was at 80%.
He's pretty good at 80%, isn't he?
I don't want to see him at 100%, it'd be scary. Here he is in the last few hundred metres. It's certainly not going to be a disgrace of a time. And again, giving his all. A man who will focus on the weekend. Will want to take all the pressure off, I'm sure, with plenty of contenders. That's the great thing about San Remo as well. It's not just about one or two people. There's so many possibilities. It is the longest race out there. It's probably one of, if not the most difficult races out there. And Sagan at the moment, on this particular race, is in 14th place. 27 seconds down. That's pretty decent time trial from him.
I think that's it's a solid ride as such. But if we're talking the weekend, I mean, would you bet against him?
Personally speaking, no, but it's also hard to place a bet on him, of course, with all of the contenders that are around.
Yeah, it is definitely. For me, you know, he's pretty much the outright favourite this year for Milan-San Remo. I don't think anyone is going to be able to ride him off his wheel, and as long as he comes back to any kind of a finish, you know, the thing is, he climbs that well that he'll be able to ask for a pace to be set on the climbs to drop pretty much every other fast man in the world, and with that, you know, he's in a great position to have to come into the final in Milan-San Remo and basically sprinting against a whole bunch of climbers, more or less, and we saw yesterday what happens with that.
Cadel Evans, former winner of this race, 2011. He moved into the blue jersey just a couple of days before the end. That was in his stage at Macerata, I think it was, on that day. Not a good race for him this year. And as we were talking about the upward trajectory of Peter Sagan, perhaps a little worrying at the start of this year for Cadel Evans. He's had a few more race days than we saw a couple of years ago when he won the Tour. Can we hope for an improvement for him?
I think we can, yeah, and you know, it's a clear possibility that he's going to do that, and he probably is just building himself up, you know, nice and slow towards the Tour de France. Look at Tony Martin here, they're making the maximum use out of that slipstream from the car, just getting in with it as much as he can and swinging out just before he gets to the back of it. And same thing now with the Euskaltel rider that he's catching. Just try and pick up that little bit of a slipstream, and you watch him go right up to the back wheel and then dive out and get the slingshot.
The man in front of him, Egoy Martinez de Esteban. Saw him in a break earlier on in the week.
It's never nice when you get caught by a minute in less than 10 kilometres, you know.
It's not, but when you see he's wearing the rainbow jersey, at least there's some consolation.
Yeah, there's a little bit, yeah, definitely. Still didn't like it.
Well, Euskaltel not known for their time trial abilities. Of course, they did have Jonathan Castroviejo before he left. He won the Romandie Prologue, I think it was a couple of years ago, in an Euskaltel jersey. Tony Martin inside the last kilometre. A minute to break. Certainly giving the motorbike a good run for his money.
Yeah, Tony Martin has been riding fast here, that's for sure.
Well, he was slower than Mallory at the first time check, I'm hearing via our sources on race radio. Just a question of how much he can carry that to the line. It's going to be close, and it's looking pretty good, I would say.
Yeah, we've got to also remember there's two different types of time trialing. The one that he's world champion in is over 43 kilometres, and where the one that we're riding today is 9 kilometres. Two completely different type of athletes that ride that kind of time trial.
Here we go then. Mallory sitting there, wondering whether he should stay in the presentation area or not. He might be able to go off for a shower in a minute, I think, because Mallory will not be winning today's stage. Tony Martin, beat that if you can, somebody. 10 minutes, 25 seconds. And if we thought Mallory's time would take some beating, that is a super effort from the world champion in this very discipline. Chapeau, well done, Tony Martin. 6 seconds ahead of Mallory. Cancellara down into third place as it stands at the moment. Ralston and Cataldo round out the top 5. Oh well, he can go off to do his interviews and relax at the moment. Can Mallory? Still a very good ride from him today. Can be pleased with his day's work. No disgrace in being beaten by Tony Martin. We'll leave you with a shot of Cadel Evans as we go for another commercial break. We'll be back in just a minute here on Eurosport.
Dikkat et oğlum.
Pass off. Pass op, pass op, pass op.
Attentie in spate, maar.
Nee.
Kom, kalm. Kalm.
Kijk, zo, doe maar. Precies.
Goed.
Goal!
Follow the score of your favorite team live and find the latest results and features with Eurosport's live score.
Get Eurosport.com for your iPhone free. Every day sees full and expert coverage of sports news with dozens of articles and an easy one-stop video section that lets you live and relive the very best moments of sport. Follow all the scores, fixtures and tables live. Eurosport.com, the reference and sport apps available on the App Store.
After a dozen testing tournaments, now the top players on the tour shoot it out for the top prize of £100,000. So who do you fancy of the 32 starters to pocket that check? The Players' Tour Grand Finals from March the 12th to the 17th, live on Eurosport and Eurosport 2.
Back live here on Tirreno. Stage 7, final stage of this 7-day race. We're with Arthur Vichot of Française des Jeux. Not expected to produce today. 57th for him, a minute and 10 down on the time set by our current leader, Tony Martin. Back to the stage start at the moment. It's going to be difficult to see Martin's time of 10 minutes, I should say, and 25 seconds beaten. Is Danny Moreno one man who's not expected to threaten?
No, certainly not today. I don't think it's not really his or Joaquim Rodriguez's type of racing. But you know, Rodriguez has been working on his time trialing. That's the rumours that I hear, and you know, if he's got any aspirations of winning Grand Tours, then he needs to improve on that.
Daniele Pietropolli. He's a Lamprey rider in that, let's say, distinguishable kit. Not going to lose him.
No, certainly not.
Looks like good commuter wear, actually. They might be selling in cities quite well.
I don't know why, but I quite like that kit. I've always liked the blue and the pink that they're put together, and I'm not sure about adding the green to it, but I do understand why.
Well, it is their name. In Italy, they go by the name of the fuchsia blue, the fuchsia and blue. Euskaltel, their latest rider on the course. Samu Sanchez, a man to perhaps look out for as an outsider today. 43 big victories for him. 13th season now as a pro. And a man who's coming back to, hopefully for him anyway, take the Giro by storm this year.
Yeah, I think it's time for Samu Sanchez to show that he's still a contender for the Grand Tours. He's been a little bit quiet over the last couple of years, I would say. But, you know, he's certainly a class act when it comes to riding a bike, there's no doubt about it.
So 4.5 minutes into his ride. Euskaltel have always done pretty well in terms of stage wins at the Giro the last 2 or 3 years, and you can think to epic Gardeccia stage, I think, as the most spectacular of those. Again, it was even more lung-busting than the one we saw yesterday in terms of mega climbs. That was superb. Of course, they produced a winner in Igor Anton on the top of Monte Zoncolan as well, the hellish mountain in northeastern Italy. That really is a nasty gradient. Certainly on a Grand Tour when you've been racing for 2 weeks already by the time you get to it, I think.
Yeah, certainly. Although I've got to say, I've had one of my best climbing days in my whole career on that particular stage, finishing on the Zoncolan.
It hurt me just driving up it.
I seem to remember I was just outside of top 30 on that one. Yeah, no, it was one of those days where everything sort of clicked and you felt great. And I went on to be second in the time trial the day after as well, so obviously my form was quite good back then.
Plenty of epic imagery about that place as well. The view at the top is pretty special, of course. You can see the range around, and you get the little gates at the bottom. Welcome to the mountain hell, the tunnels you go through as well. It's just shrouded in drama.
And then the fact that you have to take a ski lift down again from the mountain, I think that kind of just tells you how steep it is. They don't really want you going down on the bike.
Cadel Evans into the last couple of 100 metres. Nothing too much to threaten for him. It's been a week of training, let's say, for Cadel. He's going to finish well off GC. He was 8 minutes behind before yesterday. 29th or 31st spot as our computer catches up with us.
Yeah, you'd expect a bit more from Cadel Evans at this point in time, I would say, but you know, he's obviously working within his range at the moment, and he knows what he needs to do. So there is time for him to get into shape before the Tour de France, but you know, he needs to start getting a little bit more legs on than what he's got.
Back with Samu Sanchez. Key times to look out for as we head towards the end of this time trial and the end of the race come from 15:54 local time. So if you're watching in United Kingdom or Ireland, it's just before 5:23. Contador, Rodriguez, Froome and Nibali within a couple of minutes of each other. Samuel Sanchez Gonzalez, Sammy Sanchez to you and I, out there on the final stage of Tirreno. 7 minutes, 20 seconds into his ride, the leader of Euskaltel Euskadi still have that Basque flag printed on the back of their jerseys, despite the fact that they've slightly changed the political outlook this year. Roads drying up again after a few showers early on. This is what we've seen so far today. Fabian Cancellara in third place as it stands. He's 12 seconds down of the leading time of Tony Martin. Winner of the last 2 consecutive time trial stages in this town on this very race. Won't be making it 3 from 3. Second place at the moment for Lampre Merida, Adriano Malori. 10 minutes 31. 6 seconds behind Martin. It was a time we thought that might well stand a decent chance of standing through to the end. Hard ride from him, but then came this man. Tony Martin, world time trial champion, the German machine, pedaling on 6 seconds faster than everybody else. Average race speed of 52.992 kilometers per hour, and an excellent ride from a man who is perfect in just about every way as a time trialist. Great technique, superb power, and he measured it just about to perfection today, 6 seconds ahead of Malloy.
Yeah, that was a great ride by Tony Martin, definitely.
Now, pick this position apart, Magnus.
Yeah, well, the image you saw just now with Tony Martin, and you can compare that to Caruso here. It's there's no question that is pushing a lot more air than what is necessary. But some riders feel that they need to sit really wide with their arms to feel comfortable in the time trial position, and they feel like it restricts their breathing if they bring their elbows in too tightly. Most of the time, that's just a question that you sit too short with your elbows then, and that's why you can't breathe. But
well, this is a man who is expected to make a step up here for Cannondale this year, and that's something as a GT contender that he really has to improve, whether he likes it or not.
Whether he likes it or not, yeah, that is, he needs to spend more time on that time trial bike, and definitely needs to get into the wind tunnel a fair bit to tweak that.
Of course, he's had the climbing experience. He's worked for Basso, he's worked for Nibali, he's been in successful Grand Tour winning teams. But of course, with all the responsibility on him, it's going to be a new experience. Of course, he's not expected to go out there and do anything and win, but as the leader, he'll have to perform to a certain extent to keep the sponsors happy.
Yeah, I think, you know, they need to do at least everything that is possible, and you know, with the resources available to them, and you know, a couple of hours in a wind tunnel to tidy up your time trial position, that would buy you, you know, probably the better part of 30 seconds on the ride like today. And if you start looking at longer time trials, even more than that, obviously. So it's quite a good investment as such to just get yourself into that tunnel.
Andrea Amador, Costa Rican rider, who had plenty of ups and downs over the last few years, plenty of success, a couple of horrible accidents, and of course that nasty incident where he was attacked while out training in Costa Rica. Some time in hospital after that. Here's Samu Sanchez, well off the top times today. Place is flashing by. Martin having a decent time trial as well, as we saw quickly down there in 12th place. Another rider out there at the minute on the course, Jonathan Castroviejo, he's a man to watch out for. Former teammate of Samu Sanchez. Turhusov, 35th as at the moment. And a tired looking time trial from Samu Sanchez.
Sta arrivando intanto il campione olimpico di Pechino, Samuel Sanchez. Samuel Sanchez difende I colori del
2008 road champion from Beijing. On the time trial bike today, disappointing.
Yeah, it almost looked like he didn't really give that 100%, but yeah, very disappointing ride.
So we get close to the moment when the big GC fight will begin, of course. Expect the top 1 and 2 positions to be more or less cemented, barring a disaster for Vincenzo Nibali. There's 34 seconds there. But there's a lot to be played out between Contador and Joaquim Rodriguez for 3rd and 4th place. And of course, this is cycling. You never know what's going to happen. And of course, Vincenzo Nibali hasn't won it until he crosses the line. That's what the rest of the field will be saying. This is Przemysław Niemiec, Polish rider for Lampre, long-time rider in Italian teams. A couple of deep breaths before it all begins. Again, they're interesting when you're a domestique rider, these start and end time trials where there's not really too much riding in it for you. It's your own chance to give it something against the clock, but if it's not really your discipline, it's certainly something that you just really want to get out of the way, I think.
You're very right in that, yeah. I mean, so some of the time trial riders have seen Rabottini coming across the line here in 18th place. You know, if you're not really a time trial specialist, yes, it's a necessary evil. But at the same time, you know, it's the guys that really want to go for it. And you see Jens Morris, who was I think second off on today's stage. You know, he gave it everything he had because he likes doing the time trials, and with that, yeah. Some riders, a couple of guys, and I know Taylor Finney probably would have liked to have started today. He got obviously outside of the time limit yesterday, and with that, you know, he didn't get to start today's time trial stage, which I know he would have loved to do, and probably would have seen him right up there.
Well, what a story that was yesterday, desperately trying to get off his bike. He said, well, the reason I didn't get off the bike, I thought of my dad, thought of what he told me, thought of how he brought me up. He carried on all the way, just outside the time limit, and it was almost a publicity campaign for him to try and see him reinstated yesterday. But Michele Acquarone, the director, was having none of it.
No, it's you know, difficult when you're coming in on your own like that. Then most of the time they do keep the time limit quite strict.
Here's Jonathan Castroviejo, a man he said to watch out for today. It's going to be a very good time, but not good enough to win the stage. Again under the bars, so much effort in the last few hundred metres. Maybe seen him a little all over the place. It's been a good ride though. Fourth place as it stands, just faster than Hayden Ralston. 14 seconds down, and one that he'll be pleased about.
Yeah, good ride by Castroviejo, very good ride.
Spanish rider. There is how he stands at the moment in the provisional standings. See how the experts at the end do. Might be bumped down into 5th or 6th place. Now the best GC finisher for Vini Fantini. Mauro Sant'Ambrogio's had a very, very good week indeed. Another team who aren't difficult to spot on the road. We shall see him as he rides the course a little later on. This is Domenico Pozzovivo for Sky. I should say, pardon me, it's Sergio Henao, pardon me. Team's completely mixed up. That's just so a small rider. Not seen Pozzovivo, quite surprisingly yet. Of course, he's an Italian. Sergio Henao looking pretty good. The rider has put plenty of effort in, you see by the facial expression. Running very close to those barriers over there. And for his characteristics, that's not a bad ride. 27th place for Sergio Henao.
Yeah, it's certainly a ride that, you know, he'll be reasonably pleased with, I think, but you know, more work to be done. It's Roman Kreuziger in your picture there, tall, rangy fella from Saxo Tinkoff.
Kreuziger pedalling on towards the end. A team change for him at the end of last year. So much pressure on him over the last couple of years at Astana. Didn't quite work out as the main GC contender. Now in a team where he's riding for Contador, might be given the odd chance himself.
Yeah, there's also a little bit of rivalry back in the day with in Liquigas between Kreuziger and Nibali, and with Nibali moving into Astana, I think Kreuziger felt he's better off elsewhere. Obviously riding in the favours of Contador, but you know, very strong workhorse for Contador. I think there's going to be key rider too.
He's won good week-long stage races before in his younger days, whilst at Liquigas. And again, it's been the emergence of Nibali in Liquigas and then his move.
We've got Chris Horner has just started.
Well, this time last year, Chris Horner was riding in the blue jersey, of course. He was attempting to keep it on his shoulders in the final time trial. He'd ridden himself into some form at the start of the year. Just on his way out. This year, it's not quite as good, but he's 42 now.
Yeah, he is, but he's a minute 5 down on Nibali. His closest rider is Kwiatkowski, who's at 58 seconds, so it's very much a rideable sort of gap to bridge. And looking at Contador at 48 seconds and Rodriguez at 37, you know, it's definitely a possibility to overtake at least Rodriguez and maybe even the likes of Kwiatkowski.
Well, we shall see. Kwiatkowski at the moment is going for white. Now then, thanks to my slip a moment ago, that is Domenico Pozzovivo. Easy to spot if you've got your head switched on. And talking of Kwiatkowski, young Polish rider who has been excellent this week. White jersey as the best young rider. A Mega Farmer Quick Step had a decent week as well. Looks as though they're going to take the stage win today unless something special happens. Not with this man. It's all about holding GC position as high as possible.
Yeah, definitely. He's had a great week, and you know, he's been climbing with the best guys. Always been in the right place at the right time. Obviously, with the help of the likes of Tony Martin, it becomes a little bit easier when you've got that much experience just riding next to you the whole time. But certainly a solid ride by this man.
Kwiatkowski on his way. Rider from Poland. There's quite a few decent Polish riders in the peloton at the moment. Of course, we've had the long-time workhorses on the climbs, the likes of Sylvester Schmid and Niemiec. But the Tour de Pologne is an event that keeps improving every year. Of course, experimentation for them this year with six-man teams will come after the Tour de France this time. Let's get back out to Wout Poels, approaching the end of his ride.
No lack of effort going into that ride, though, that's for sure.
Nice narrow position, it looks like, anyway, as well. Not going to be anywhere near the top of the leaderboard as far as today goes.
Il
53 seconds down from Wout Poels.
I think that was probably within the possibility, like within his capabilities as a rider. So not a good, not a bad rider.
This is Michał Kwiatkowski, pardon, I should say. Movistar also with their men out on the road. Andrea Amador we saw go off at the start. It's been a fairly decent rider, it certainly looks so from him. Approaching the line inside the last kilometre. Now, as a prelude to the GC battle hotting up, we talked about Vincenzo Nibali really working hard on his TT position over the winter, spending some time in the wind tunnel. A couple of questions on Twitter, just alluding as to the reason why more teams don't use the wind tunnel enough. Is it a cost factor? Is it something that only the Pro Tour teams can really afford to really invest in? As we see Amador coming to the line.
Yeah, let's just get Amador across the line and see where he ends up. But
very, very good ride from him. Very good ride. He's beaten Fabian Cancellara, and that, I would say personally, is a surprise of the day.
Well, I wasn't expecting that one, that's for sure. You know, impressive ride by Amador.
And well, it sort of leads us on to our point here about spending time on the time trial position, making it work. We saw them very good in the team time trial this year, and perhaps that is something that Movistar has spent time on. Now, into this GC battle, in with Alberto Contador, who is the points jersey leader at the moment, a man who's always worked on his time trial. He's a former Spanish champion. And again, Magnus, going back to that point, is it just the fact that money proves too much of an obstacle for some teams?
It is certainly a costly thing to do, going into a wind tunnel and spending a lot of time in it. But you know, there are places where you can get some wind tunnel time reasonably cheaply. I know there's a couple of places around here in the UK. But yeah, I think if your team haven't got the expenses to do the funds to put you into the wind tunnel, then it's probably worth, you know, maybe investing a little bit of time, a little bit of money yourself, and going and finding a tunnel where you can at least get some work done if you're looking at perfecting it like you know, the likes of Contador and Tony Martin and the rest, you know, it does take a lot of time and it is expensive to do then. But it's not just the fact that you spend the time in the wind tunnel and you get this crazy aerodynamic position going. You've got to be able to ride in it as well and be able to put the power out. And with that, not only, you know, a lot of riders that are sort of at this level, they still don't have a time trial bike at home. I'm not saying Contador don't, but a lot of the guys that are sort of just below the top level of sort of GC riders, they don't have a time trial bike at home. So they see their time trial bike maybe once every 4 to 6 weeks when there's a time trial in the stage race. And if you don't ride in a position and you expect to jump on it and produce the maximum amount of power possible in a position which is completely unfamiliar to you, there's just no way that you're going to be able to ride fast. You need to probably spend around about 6 to 8 hours a week on the time trial bike to get used to it and to be able to ride this fast.
Well, it's alien, isn't it, to the human body, really? It's not natural.
Well, if you're sitting riding a time trial bike, it is actually one of the most comfortable positions to sit in. But you need to then, you know, obviously get the position right and then spend time in it so that you do get used to it.
Here we go. We've seen Alberto Contador go away. We're told that Joaquim Rodriguez Oliveira's gone away. This is Chris Froome, and this is the GC battle we were talking about. Chris Froome, 34 seconds down from leader Vincenzo Nibali today. It's going to be very, very difficult for him to overturn that. Of course, we're talking the fact that there is 34 seconds between them. There's only 9.2 kilometers of flat road. Yes, Froome's a very good time trialist, one of the best, but Nibali's been working hard. We'd have to have an awful day from Nibali, a super day from Froome. Where the differences might and most probably will occur is a little further down. We're talking 11 seconds from Joaquim Rodriguez to Alberto Contador. And then a further 10 seconds from Contador to Kwiatkowski. And you also mentioned Chris Horner will be trying to make 4th place as well. 5th place, pardon, with Kwiatkowski in danger maybe of losing that. So possibly lots of little changes here.
I think the biggest man in danger is Rodriguez here to lose out and actually end up quite some way down. He's probably lucky if he's going to be inside the top 10. You know, he's not a good time trialist, but let's just see what these guys have done in in work over the winter. And you mentioned Nibali done a lot of work, yes, but Nibali was not a bad time trialist before either. He was certainly not over a shorter ride. He's been right up there, and you know, if he's improved where he was, I think he's dangerous.
Well, remember last year it was a very decent time trial from him, one that surprised quite a lot of people in the fact that it was better than what we were expecting when he took the blue jersey off of Chris Horner.
Yeah, and you watch him throw his bike around in the corners up here as well. He'll probably save about 4 seconds on it through the corners compared to most other riders. You know, look in the sort of GC category anyway, and yeah, that's gonna sort of be in his favour, isn't it?
Vincenzo Nibali then given a huge welcome by the start line announcer. Certainly got the motivational music on behind as well. Deep breath from him. He knows what it's all about. Said that he didn't suffer in the cold like other riders yesterday. He said he normally deals with that quite well. Very happy with what happened for him, and of course he was going to have no complaints about the course rather than the others as well. He said, well, it's the course that's designed. We knew all about it before we turned up. Nobody complained then, and of course he was the man who took advantage on the day. He's about to ride for the next 10 minutes or so to see if he can retain his Tirreno Adriatico big trident. Not a stated objective for him this year. That's the Giro, and to a lesser extent he's been talking himself up for Milan-San Remo as well.
Well, after what we saw yesterday, I think a Milan-San Remo ride is certainly a possibility, and you know, if he's right there or thereabouts, then he's definitely going to put an attack in on the Cipressa when we get to that point in Milan-San Remo, and you never know what's going to happen, how many guys are going to be able to respond or not. Here we go then, Rodriguez.
Yes, the Catalan GC man. improved so much over the last few years, of course. And the great thing about him as well, he always gives plenty of spectacle in one-day racing too. Chris Horner, towards the end of his Tirreno Adriatico, enjoyed the race so much last year that he came back. Tends to start his season a little later. Not a good ride from him today. 24th level time with Dani Moreno.
Yeah, potentially one where we were expecting a little bit more, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with the GC.
Seven minutes, 25 seconds for Alberto Contador. He's into those last 2.5 kilometers, more or less, of straight road now. And for him, it's about, realistically, just making sure he's on the podium at the end of the day in front of Joaquim Rodriguez, his compatriot.
Yeah, and I think that is it's going to take a lot for him not to beat Rodriguez. The question is obviously what happens around him with Kwiatkowski, how well he goes as well in the time trial. You never know.
You do never know indeed. The next 10 minutes is going to tell us everything we need to know about this year's Tirreno Adriatico and how it will end. Froome on the left in the black sky shirt with a blue stripe down the back. Nibali on the right-hand side running for Astana, but he's in the blue leader's jersey of this very race. The race to the 2 Cs. We started out with a team time trial a week ago in a very wet and pretty miserable Tuscan coast. We're on the Adriatic coast now. It's been wet, it's not too miserable today. We've had bits of sunshine, and certainly there's going to be a big smile on the face of the happy winner. This is Michał Kwiatkowski. A few moments ago we saw Chris Horner come across the line. He was the man threatening Kwiatkowski's position from just behind him, and it looks as though there's going to be no threat whatsoever, really. 6th for Kwiatkowski, 7th in the end, pardon me, and he will in fact gain time on the man who was just behind him before today.
Yeah, definitely. Good ride by Kwiatkowski.
So whatever happens, he will keep his 5th place. And of course, his white jersey for the best young rider.
Yeah. Question is then what's Rodriguez able to do, but next one across the line should be Alberto Contador then.
Contador will be next across. This is Chris Froome. Of course, yesterday the talk was that he would attempt, no doubt, with his Team Sky to control the race and make sure that he would be the first Brit stroke African to win this race.
Yeah, I think we all expected him to be right up there, but with the steepness of the climbs that we had yesterday, it's such a particular type of climbing that you're doing, and it doesn't suit every rider. I think Chris is more suited to doing the longer climbs.
Vincenzo Nibali is the last on the course. 3 minutes 50 into his ride. Says he's been working a heck of a lot on this discipline. We've talked him up today. He was good last year. He reckons he's better, and he's not always been a man to talk himself up to the max. Yes, I think we had the argy-bargy with Brad Wiggins last year, and I think he quite enjoyed that with a bit of tongue-in-cheek going on.
Yeah, of course. Alberto Contador.
Not going to threaten the win.
No, definitely not.
Just in front of the pot where the team car turns off. He looks like he's hurting as well. Certainly showed that yesterday when he was zigzagging across the road and struggling along with the rest. Contador into the last couple of 100 meters. The car will turn off to the left of our screen. Contador continues his dart to the line. His time will be worse than Hayden Ralston's. He'll make it into the top 10 as far as the day's concerned. And now, how much time is he going to lose on Kwiatkowski? That is the question. 10 minutes, 55 seconds. 30 seconds down on the leader and winner of the day, or expected winner, Tony Martin.
Yeah, it's going to be tight between Contador and Kwiatkowski on that one.
This is Joaquim Rodriguez, the man that Contador will be looking to. Now, how much has he been improving in this discipline? Of course, he's the weakest of the lot as far as GC contenders are concerned up here. We'll be seeing if he can surprise a few people. Interesting to see if we can get a straight shot to see exactly how far he is away from that moment where the cars turn off.
Yeah. Certainly his position is looking a lot better on the time trial bike than he has done.
So the news from the GC is that there is just 1 little second between Contador and Kwiatkowski. Kwiatkowski will stay in his position. Contador will not drop down.
There we go.
Here's Nibali. Couple of little things sorted out further down on GC, but kudos to Kwiatkowski. Not beating Contador on this occasion by 1 second, but he will be delighted with his week's work. Nibali still on his way out before the time check. This is Purito on the way back. The time's ticking away here. And if I were him, I'd be worried.
Yeah, I'd be worried as well. It's again, you know, it is his weakest part of his complete, you know, of his riding, and he struggles to make any real sort of progress with it as well.
Well, into the barrier part of the course, the car will turn off to the right now. Big effort in the last couple of 100 meters. Of course, it's that time in relation to Alberto Contador that he needs to do. Might just be good enough here. We shall see. 11 seconds the difference between the two. He's into the last 100 meters. Whatever happens, it's going to be very tight for Purito Rodriguez. I don't think personally that he's going to do it, and I think that as the 11:06 mark goes past, he will now drop off of the podium. Wait for confirmation of that. I can tell you on the way out, Vincenzo Nibali has lost 4 seconds against Chris Froome.
Yeah. Obviously, that's not enough for Nibali to lose against if Chris Froome was going to win it. 5 seconds in it, but you know, it just shows how good a time trialist Chris Froome is as well, even on the shorter rides like this.
But it also shows that we expected perhaps the maximum that could be taken away was today was 10-15 seconds maybe, and
yeah,
with halfway gone here, it's certainly not going to happen as far as Froome's concerned for the victory today. It's going to be a very good ride from him nonetheless, and we shall see where he is in relation to the stage win, of course.
Yeah.
Tony Martin, look out. I think that Martin's still got it, certainly when we look at the road here, but we shall see.
Got that far to go to the line, but it's not going to take the stage win.
So Froome not going to take the win. I can tell you the news as well from the mathematics department is that Alberto Contador has overtaken Joaquim Rodriguez by just 2 seconds. He will be on the podium.
And that means that Kwiatkowski has overtaken Rodriguez as well.
There we go. Just 1 second between them. Rodriguez, despite a very decent ride, goes down to 5th place. Contador across the line. Froome now across the line. 6th place for the day. Good ride from him.
For such a short time trial, I think that was a very solid performance for Chris Froome.
Now for Vincenzo Nibali, stay upright, stay there, ride into the line and enjoy it, because you are about to win for the 2nd year in a row this race of Tirreno Adriatico.
Yeah, I mean, he's got nothing to worry about here. He just needs to keep riding. You can enjoy the moment. It's not often you can do that in a time trial, because most of the time you really want to just push it, but I think at this point you'll see him sit up the last 100 meters and kind of soak up the atmosphere and enjoy the moment.
Just over 1 kilometre to go. You can see the red kite just ahead of him, and he is going to do this nice and easily, barring a little slip. Just be safe, just enjoy it, as we said. And Vincenzo Nibali starting his season in exceptional fashion. Blue jersey on his back, another trident to take home. Have to think about where he's going to put it in his house, of course. And he moved house last year up to Switzerland. I know that his girlfriend studies up there at university. Long-time resident of Tuscany, despite the fact he is Sicilian by birth. And Vincenzo Nibali is going to win the Tirreno Adriatico, and looking at the clock there, Tony Martin is definitely going to win the stage. 10 minutes, 25 seconds, an exceptional winning time. Vincenzo Nibali can now listen to the cheers of the crowd as they are delighted to see another home winner of what is an exciting home race. In the last 150 meters for Vincenzo Nibali. Chris Froome came in with the 6th best time of the day. Froome at 10 minutes 40 seconds, and it's only going to be a matter of a handful that separates the two at the end of the day. 11 seconds difference. That means that Vincenzo Nibali wins the race and can enjoy punching the air as the champion, the master of the 2Cs for the second year running. And Magnus, a week that has seen this man put his name right up there against the top men in the world again.
Yeah, I think he's done an incredible start to the season. You know, he's really ridden strongly here this week, and actually taken the race to the rest of his competitors, and looking towards the Giro. If he can build on the form that he has and continue this upwards curve, he's going to be a man to be reckoned with.
He certainly is. These are the results for today. Tony Martin 6 seconds ahead of Adriano Malori, which was a very good early time. Big surprise of the day from Andre Amador. Well done to you as well. Third place for the rider from Movistar. Nibali mobbed by the crowd of journalists down there. Slowly make his way over, I'm sure, to the podium. And we'll see him once again lift that big Tirreno trident. Sharka Messina has a very, very sharp bite for the second year running. Vincenzo Nibali, victorious on Tirreno. He's the winner of this year's race, 2013. A race that tested riders, that provided plenty of drama. And on the last day, showed that Nibali's work on his time trial meant that he's up there with the very best in the discipline. At the start of the week, we talked about the stellar field that was here. All of the main men, as far as GC are concerned, perhaps barring Bradley Wiggins. He's beaten all the best. There's only one man more that he has to beat in the Giro, that is Wiggins himself. It is a different race, but with this form he's shown early on, he has put his name into the hat. Vincenzo Nibali wins Tirreno by 23 seconds ahead of Christopher Froome of Team Sky. Alberto Contador, with a good time trial ride on the last day, comes up ahead of Kwiatkowski and Joaquim Rodriguez to make the podium. So Vincenzo Nibali rides away, and he is the winner of this year's race. Let's hear from the winner of the stage.
Yeah, here with stage winner Tony Martin. This is the one you've been waiting for. Looks like it all went to plan.
Yeah, I was looking for this day because in the mountain it was not for me, and I had a full focus for today, and I'm really happy now I could win here. It's my first time in Tirreno. I really like the race, and it's a nice finish now.
Seems like your climbing's going pretty good at the moment as well, though. The last couple of stages in the mountains.
It went better, yeah, from day to day, but especially the first day was not good for me, and I think I still need some time to improve in the mountains. It's still early in the season, but for the moment I'm happy with the stage win and also with a good place put in GC for Michael Kwiatkowski. So it was a good week for the team.
Congratulations, Tony. Well done.
Thank you.
Andre Amador finished third on today's race. Very, very good ride from him. Only 10 seconds behind Tony Martin.
That was probably the ride of the day as far as I'm concerned. You know, very impressive. We haven't seen him ride this well in the time trial before, but you know, shows what a bit of work can do, eh?
The man who's been constantly improving, a man who's been known for his strength in this discipline for a few years now, Adriano Malori, despite the fact that he's still a fairly young guy. Second, 6 seconds behind Tony Martin is certainly no disgrace. Excellent ride from the Lambrick man, who can look forward to another season if he can hold his form in the time trials. Of course, no Marco Pinotti here today to challenge him for the Italians. The man who is unbeatable at the moment, though, is the world supremo, Tony Martin. 10 minutes and 25 seconds, 6 faster than his nearest challenger, 52.992 kilometers per hour. And as we saw just a moment ago, very happy.
Vincenzo, second win in a row at Tirreno, but does this one mean more with the quality of the riders with Contador and Froome?
Sono veramente contento di questa seconda Tirreno Adriatico.
Well, I'm really happy with this Tirreno.
Veramente importante. La prima
It's something really important to win.
Cosa posso
And of course,
dire?
it's my first
Questa
win of the season, which is always important.
Perché grandi
But this is more important than last year. But of course, because of all the riders that came, Froome, Rodriguez, Contador. It's been a fantastic Tirreno Adriatico.
Grazie anche a voi.
Thanking everybody watching. Let's see the prize giving then. First up is our stage winner today. We saw him in his world rainbow colours a moment ago. Now representing his team, of course. Omega Pharma Quickstep racking up the victories as we expected from the star-studded, very wealthy team. Plenty of smiles. His should be the broadest. Champagne moment for him. And it's great to see so many people out to look and watch. Tony Martin 6 seconds ahead of Adriano Malori. Not all the glory Italian today. Plenty going on for the Germans and the Belgians. So Martin, the winner, we see him presented with his victory. Just breaking what we saw from Fabian Cancellara. Interesting to see the UCI World Tour ranking after this race. We talked about Tom Jelte-Slagter being pipped at the post by Richie Port's win. That means Port stays on top. Nibali now into third place with his win. Talansky and Froome making the top 5. Alberto Contador as well with a good ride here. Now 8th in the top cyclists in the world. So the next man onto the podium will be, I can confirm, Vincenzo Nibali, the Maglia Azzurra, blue jersey for the winner of the race for the 2Cs. We saw the drama in the pre-race promo produced by the organisers. We saw at the start of the stage as well today. It's certainly lived up to all that. It's been a really interesting week, and it has been the race for all cyclists, everybody included, something for everybody, and something for all the fans as well, no matter what element of the race you like.
Yeah, I think it's been one of the better Tirrenos in terms of both the course and the racing that's been shown as well. So I've certainly enjoyed it. It's given us a few answers and also a few questions. So I'm really looking forward going towards Milan-San Remo and the classics now.
So Milan-San Remo will be the next big race. Of course, you can see it here as usual in Eurosport. 100 meters, or the last 100 meters, I should say, as the Kazakh flag of his team Astana flies 50 meters from the line. But it's an Italian victory for Vincenzo Nibali. Second in 2 years, which I'm sure will mean that he'll be back to defend his title again next year. So we look out onto a murky Adriatic Sea. Of course, looking north, and you can also look across to the likes of Croatia. Greek coast just down the road as well. This Marche region, just above Abruzzo, if you know your Italian geography. And of course, further up the coast, you get to the likes of Emilia-Romagna, where it's produced so many great cyclists down the years.
Yeah.
Cesenatico, we mentioned Pantani the other day. That was his homeland. Well, as we look back at the Tirreno Adriatico, a reminder that you can watch Milan-San Remo at the weekend, live for the whole thing on British Eurosport. For international viewers, that will be 16:15 Central European time. So to today's stage, Tony Martin the winner, Vincenzo Nibali, Maglia Azzurra, the blue jersey of the winner, San Benedetto del Tronto, treated to an afternoon of a race against the clock. Fabian Cancellara came in unable to repeat his victory. Adriano Malori broke his time. And we thought that that would be very difficult to beat, of course. A lot of big names were still to come. but it was impressive from the Italian former national time trial champion. The current champion Cataldo unable to beat that. Efforts from Cannondale and Peter Sagan not really going to do too much. We didn't expect that after the exertions of yesterday either. But when this man came out, there was plenty of expectation of a good ride, but maybe not pipping Mallory to the post. In the end, he did it by 6 seconds. He did it in extremely impressive style. And Tony Martin in the rainbow jersey, taking the stage win and ending and rounding out an excellent Tirreno Adriatico for Omega Pharma Quickstep. Andrea Amador with the ride of the day as described by Magnus Magstad. Costa Rican surprising many in the time trial and just perhaps illustrating how much Movistar as a whole have worked on time trialing. We mentioned them branching out with the signing of Alex Dowsett and what have you as well. Alberto Contador gained a couple of places, or gained one place I should say, onto the podium. The man who he displaced though, disappointed and dropping down to 5th for Joaquim Rodriguez. Chris Froome couldn't overtake the top man at the top, which of course was Vincenzo Nibali. Remember, you can watch Eurosport to see if his teammate Brad Wiggins can take on the Volta Catalunya, or the Tour of Catalonia in northeast Spain, coming up in the next few days. That will be every day next week, live on Eurosport. So to the winner of the race, Vincenzo Nibali, the #1 for 2 years running, and winning with one on his back. And here he is, delighted on the podium. So Vincenzo Nibali, winner of Tirreno Adriatico 2013, just as he was 12 months ago. The shock of the Strait of Messina biting the rest out of the water. Nibali, a very, very deserved winner, Magnus.
Well, I certainly think so. Certainly the way he rode yesterday, you know, he did an incredible ride, and well, all you can say is a big congratulations to him and his team.
A reminder that you can see Milan Sanremo on Eurosport. Reminder that he is one of the contenders. 23 seconds his margin of victory ahead of Christopher Froome, who was unable to turn it over on the day. Just 11 seconds back from him on what was a very decent ride for the Kenyan turned Brit. Third place going to Alberto Contador. As we can see, the general podium already being prepared. Good crowd again turned up, and really is testament to the organisers' work and as to how they've planned this race again. Plenty of excitement as we see the blue jersey once more being presented to Vincenzo Nibali. The maglia azzurra, of course, his next aim is to be wearing pink in Brescia at the end of May.
Yeah, I think that's a big target and a big goal that he's working towards. And you know, if he keeps on riding like he has over this week, then that it should be a possibility. Obviously, there's a lot of big riders coming to that race, and he's going to have to work incredibly hard, and probably need a little bit more support from his team as well compared to what he has had this week.
Well, it will come with a full team. He's been promised 110% backing from Giuseppe Martinelli, who's in charge, of course, in the Directeur Sportif position with the Kazakhstani team. See, the flags are prepared already for the podium ceremony. Of course, Spain in third, Great Britain, with whom Chris Froome is now registered in second. Here's the final podium then with Alberto Contador, former winner of the Giro d'Italia. First time he's ridden Tirreno Adriatico, and one that I'm sure will be fairly satisfied with, despite the fact he hasn't walked off with the overall win. This year he says his aim is Tour. He's still umming and ahhing about Giro before, but do you think that's a good idea for him?
No, I think he needs to focus on just the Tour de France. If he wants to win that one, he can't ride the Giro and compete for the overall and then expect to go to the Tour to the Tour de France and win the overall there as well. Focus on one of them and do that well.
Chris Froome gets a handshake from Alberto Contador. Before the race started, Contador was interviewed in the Italian press and he said, who will be your biggest rival for this race? No mention of Nibali. He talked about Chris Froome having the experience that he saw against him in Oman. Turns out, though, that Froome could only finish in second place. The Trident Trophy is ready. We're just awaiting now the reappearance of our victor. He's got to find some room somewhere at home for that, but here he is to collect it yet again. Applause, congratulations, complimenti, well done to Vincenzo Nibali, the winner of this year's Tirreno Adriatico. Yet another chance to soak up the applause. And once again, he is the master of the two seas. Well, the obligatory pause for the morning papers. And he's going to get his final congratulation for the podium girls. We've got to know them well yesterday. And here he is with yet another Tirreno victory. So a final word from you, I should say, Magnus, before we leave.
Well, I think it's been a great week of racing, and I'm really looking forward to the up-and-coming classics, including Milan-San Remo.
Well, guys, remember to keep it Eurosport wherever you are watching in Europe or around the world. From me, Rob Hatch, and Magnus, it's been a pleasure to have your company this week. Join us again on the home of cycling. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.